Cardano ADA will have a $1 trillion market cap. Or will it? I've seen these claims all over the internet ever since I've been interested in Cardano, and I really wanted to dive in here so I could completely understand all things Cardano and the mystique behind it. So what I did is I went ahead and I put together what I believe is the most comprehensive resource on Cardano, what it is, what it's set out to be, and what it aims to achieve. And if this isn't the most informative video that you have seen on Cardano, I will return your money 100% guarantee by the end of this video. Good thing I'm not charging anything, but I guarantee this will be the best video you have seen on Cardano. I know that that is a tall order. So let's just go ahead and hop into the information here. I went ahead and made a comprehensive flowchart for all things Cardano. That way you can kind of visualize as we go through this, what exactly is going on. One thing that bothers me about this flowchart is it would not allow me to make the title a larger font, and this is absolutely killing me that this is the same font as all the other text, but you know, I'm just gonna go ahead and shoot myself after this. Anyways, this covers everything from what Cardano is, what the goals of Cardano is, explaining proof of stake, my general thoughts on it, and if this could potentially reach $1 trillion. So let's just go ahead and hop right in, starting with what it is. This is a real general overview of what Cardano is. Basically, it's trying to be Ethereum, but better. Now, you can kind of think of Bitcoin as digital gold and Ethereum as digital cash. And Cardano ADA is trying to be the best digital cash. Especially right now, they're kind of hopping on the opportunity where Ethereum is starting to get some backlash with things like their current gas fees and other complaints with their tech. So they're kind of poised right now at this opportunistic point in time where we may see some major changes. Now, this isn't to say that I'm not a fan of Ethereum. I actually hold Ethereum and Cardano ADA. So I'm bullish on both, but they kind of are competing with each other. We'll get more into the depths of whether there's space for both of them to be winners. So Cardano uses a proof of stake consensus mechanism. You can compare this to proof of work, which is something like Bitcoin, where you need miners to process transactions, complicated transactions, in order to gain the rights to update the ledger and process those transactions further. Proof of stake is a completely different concept, and really this is kind of like cryptocurrency 2.0. It's the smarter, better way of doing this. Now, their focuses are on high security, scalability, low transaction fees, and interoperability, which is basically the communication between different cryptos, which is extremely, extremely important. Because right now, we kind of have a dumb system. It might seem like these cryptos are so ultra smart and so ultra confusing, but I mean, they are kind of ultra confusing, but they're kind of dumb in the fact that they don't communicate with one another. It's right now, it's kind of like, let's say you had websites like Google and Amazon. Both of them on their own are great, but if they can't communicate, you know, what good is it? Like if you can't go on Google and get to Amazon, it wouldn't make sense. I don't know if that's a good metaphor or not, but it's kind of what it feels like with cryptocurrencies right now. So interoperability makes a lot of sense. Also, they focus a lot on the scientific method, arguably the best method. Wim Hof is number 2. So everything that they do, all the changes that they do are peer reviewed, and they use scientific approaches to make sure everything makes sense on a scientific level before the changes are actually made. And I really appreciate that they take the lengths to make the best decisions possible. It really seems like the approaches that they take on everything are extremely smart. They also have a big focus on smart contracts, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. So now let's talk about the goals of Cardano ADA, which is arguably the most important aspect of this entire presentation. So we're going to spend some time on it. Now, something that I want to highlight is with cryptos, each crypto attempts to solve a problem. Well, at least it should attempt to solve a problem. It shouldn't just be there in order to increase in dollar size per coin. And that's the merit that you should judge each crypto on, as to what use cases and what problems it solves. Cryptos aren't exactly like buying stock in a company where the end goal of buying a stock, the end goal of that company is to produce cash for its shareholders. They literally have a fiduciary duty to do so in the best way possible. A cryptocurrency does not have that obligation. It does not have the obligation to go up in price. So there's an argument to be made that it's not exactly an investment because they're not made to produce cash. They are made to solve problems. And if they solve a problem better than anyone else, of course, the value is going to go up because more people will be using it, more people will be holding it. But it's something to consider in your investment portfolio to remember that these are very speculative, and it's important to judge use cases. So we see things like the next most popular meme coin that is going up in popularity, but you want to ask yourself and really dig into what are the use cases here. So there's 4 main goals with Cardano ADA. The first one I want to talk about is high security. And they kind of are the masters of this, if we're being completely honest. They use their Ouroboros proof of stake protocol. And they really kind of market this as the first provably secure proof of stake protocol. Now, what exactly does that mean? Because they weren't the very first proof of stake protocol, but they're the first provably secure. So they're saying, they basically mean that this is the first peer-reviewed and accepted safe proof of stake protocol in the cryptography community. And you can actually read their research studies on how their Ouroboros mechanism works and how it is actually provably safe if you're really wanting to get into the weeds here. So they are incredibly safe unless we have the 51% attack. They're safe unless one actor owns 51% or more of the entire pool of coins. If that's the case, then there can be bad actors in the system. However, this is extremely unlikely. Not only is it unlikely for someone to simply own that many coins, because at this point that would be, in the tens of billions of dollars, but on top of this, it also doesn't make any sense psychologically or incentive-wise, because there's actually a negative incentive to own that many coins and then be a bad actor. Because if you own that many coins, you are making a ton of money off of those coins. And by doing anything wrong, you're really just hurting yourself. I mean, it kind of be like if you and your girlfriend shared a car and you were mad at her, so you popped all the tires on the car. Now, you don't have a car either. So it's kind of like you're just hurting yourself if someone were to have that 51% of the entire staking pool. And this is a big part of their Ouroboros mechanism that is just psychologically, it doesn't make sense. And with game theory, it just does not make sense that someone would do this because there's so many incentives to not do it. There's reverse incentives. There's incentives to hold it and be a good actor because you make money with this. Now, another major goal is scalability with Cardano ADA. It's all about the transactions per second, baby. So here we have our TPS reports. And something that is a fundamental issue with cryptocurrencies in general is the transactions per second. Because in order to reach the full potential of cryptocurrencies, we have to be better than current mechanisms, than current systems in place. And as of right now, we're not even close. As we can see here, Visa can transact 26,000 transactions per second. Bitcoin can do 7. Ethereum can do 50. Cardano can do between 7 and 50 transactions per second. Now, the reason that it's so hard for a cryptocurrency to be anywhere near like Visa's transaction level is because it's a decentralized system. Visa's, it's a closed system. They have all the set controls there. They can freeze things if they need to. It's their system. With cryptocurrencies, they're inherently open and there's so much more data needed, so there's far more bottlenecks. Now, Cardano, it's 7 to 50 transactions per second, but we want to put a little asterisk next to that. You know what? I think I can put an asterisk next to that. Let me go ahead and slap an asterisk down. There we go. It's a messy asterisk. Because right now they're sitting at about 7. The reason they're sitting at 7 transactions per second is because that's all they need right now. But they have the capacity to bump that up to about 50 and be on par with Ethereum's level. But there's plans for expansion far beyond that. And that is the future. The future of their transactions per second with Cardano ADA. It's Hydra, Not to be confused with the Hydra coin, completely different. This is kind of their layer 2 transactions. And this is when they can get to between 1,000 and potentially theoretically 1 million transactions per second. Now, there's people who say, yeah, you know, this hasn't happened yet, don't bank on it. And I tend to be more on the conservative side with anything. Like, you know, I'll look at the future possibilities, but don't guarantee that that's going to happen, especially on the high end. You know, 1,000 seems more realistic, 2,500 seems pretty realistic, and that could get us very far compared to where we are right now. Now, something really interesting with this Hydra system is as the system gets bigger, it scales linearly. So the system actually would get faster the bigger the system is, which is huge. It makes so much sense. Obviously, it's easier said than done to make a system that gets faster as it gets bigger, but it makes a lot of sense. And the reason that it is able to do this is with their Hydra layers and their layer 2. Layers make the dream work. So basically, they're taking a note from banking systems because banking systems use layers to speed up transactions. So we can think of something like a wire transfer is fairly slow. A bank-to-bank transfer is fairly slow. Writing a check is fairly slow. But then there's systems built on top of those existing systems. Something like Venmo, which is an instant transaction. That's a layer built on top of existing banking layers. And that's what this Hydra system would do and would dramatically increase the transactions per second. And it is a very exciting change that is in the works right now. And this is a very interesting use case for layers. Cardano has a heavy focus on serving underserved, underbanked areas. And they could create a layer on the Cardano system that would allow something like a foreign government in Africa to build their monetary system on top of Cardano and make it a less decentralized system, all built on a decentralized network of Cardano. So they could do things like have individuals register themselves on their national system with their ID and then automatically, like that, have a digital banking system that is secure and decentralized. And that is a massive, massive opportunity because they're kind of taking a page from Peter Thiel's book where he says to start with a very small niche market, dominate that market, and then expand from there. And it kind of seems like they're trying to do that with underbanked nations. And that's going to be something that's very interesting to see how it pans out in the coming years. Now, another goal of theirs is low transaction fees. So let's see exactly how they are handling that goal. This is a big problem with Ethereum right now and their gas fees. On some days it's worse than others, but I've seen a lot of people complain about the Ethereum gas fees, especially those who are doing smaller transactions. There's a problem right now where Ethereum is almost leaning towards catering to large investors and large institutions because the gas fees have become so enormous that small transactions just don't make sense anymore. I mean, you can see anecdotal reports of someone who wants to transfer $10, but there's a $15 fee in order to do it. Obviously, that doesn't make sense. That's not realistic. That's not scalable. So, like I said, takes away the whole point of the decentralized, cheap, lightning fast transactions that we want to have with a cryptocurrency. So here's an example of the gas fees that I pulled comparing Ethereum to ADA. So Ethereum in one day, they had transacted $17.75 billion in transactions, and they had $28.8 million in fees. On that same day, ADA transacted $14.83 billion in transactions and had only $4,000 in fees. I mean, a huge multiple less in fees. If we still compare Ethereum as a percentage, like to a credit card fee, Ethereum is still incredibly cheap, but ADA is, it's not even a contest at this point. It's insane actually how cheap their transaction fees are. Next, we have interoperability. The need to get along. We need like one of those get along t-shirts that parents have for their kids where they put both their kids in in a big t-shirt when they're fighting. So this is a goal of ADA's from the very beginning, to have interoperability and to connect cryptocurrencies. Like I mentioned earlier, we want them to work together. The whole system simply it's not even really a system until they work together. This would create the internet of cryptocurrencies. Also, I created a Patreon page for those who wish to support my work on a higher level. That'll be linked down below. If you go ahead and join, you also will get full Discord access where I do all my buy alerts for both stocks and crypto. So there's a little side benefit there beyond just helping me produce the high highest quality content possible, because I absolutely love doing this kind of thing, but YouTube unfortunately is inherently pretty unstable. But do not feel obligated to join. Don't feel obligated whatsoever. I'll gladly take a like and subscribe instead. But yeah, I set that up if you're interested. So this was a goal from the beginning with ADA to have interoperability. It's still under development. So ADA in general is still under development. So we're dealing with something that is very, very new. Now, something that they're working on is side chains, which is basically a communication between blockchains, not to be confused with side pieces. And there are current talks of ADA and Litecoin having a connection so they can communicate one-to-one with one another and transact between each other as kind of a use case, a proof of the method, if you will. Now, this will happen. This will absolutely happen. There will be a day coming probably sooner than later where all cryptocurrencies talk to each other. Cryptos don't reach their potential without the ability to talk to one another. Charles Hoskinson, who is the creator of ADA, says that this is going to happen likely in the next 3 to 5 years with a Wi-Fi moment, is how he explains it, where in the past, all devices basically decided, okay, we're going to use the Wi-Fi protocol, and they just went with that. He thinks that that's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years, and that will really just take cryptocurrencies in general to the next level. Next, we have proof of stake. I just want to explain this a little bit further and why we love it, why especially I love the proof of stake mechanism. So first, it makes cryptocurrencies an income-producing asset. And this was my biggest concern and is my biggest concern with cryptocurrencies, because in my stock investments, I generally focus most of my money towards things that are actually cash flowing and going to produce me a return. With a cryptocurrency, you're really just betting that someone else is going to pay more for that cryptocurrency later, basically the greater fool's theory. But with proof of stake, by holding that coin, you can actually earn money on that coin by simply holding it, because your coin is actually working for you to help run the entire system. So you can earn something like 6% interest by just holding that coin on top of the increase in price from these coins over time, hopefully. Also, I like proof of stake because it is more secure than the proof of work mechanism, which is like what Bitcoin uses, and it's more environmentally friendly. Mining takes a ton of energy and a ton of electricity, and there are rightfully a lot of concerns with the environmental impact of miners right now, and proof of stake pretty much eliminates that almost 100%. Now let's talk about some of my general thoughts with ADA. First, can it beat Ethereum? On the proof of stake mechanism, where it stands right now, they are beating Ethereum because Ethereum's proof of stake mechanism hasn't come out yet with Ethereum 2.0. Now, they keep saying that it's going to come out relatively soon, but if you look online, there's a lot of people who think, it's probably not going to come out quite as soon as they think. But Ethereum has the head start. Ethereum has the name recognition, not quite as much as Bitcoin, but they definitely have the head start, and they're trying to do very similar things. So it's possible, never say never, but it's not going to be an easy battle. A bet on this is still betting on the underdog. Also, here's a question that you need to ask yourself. Does it even need to beat Ethereum? In my opinion, it doesn't need to beat them. I think there's going to be multiple winners here. There's going to be multiple coins that have absolutely tremendous market caps, and this could very well be one of them. And especially once the interoperability comes into play where they can communicate with each other, there's just going to be multiple winners, in my opinion. Now let's talk about the risks, because of course there are risks. I know we've talked about them a little bit. It's still under development. There's still a lot of things that are being worked on right now, and we don't know if they'll be completed to the level that they say they'll be completed. And it's a speculative investment. This thing could go down dramatically in price. It could go up dramatically in price. So any purchase of this, you have to be okay with extreme volatility. If you're not okay with extreme volatility, you should put your money elsewhere. Not financial advice, do whatever you want, but it's going to be volatile. Even if it goes up, it will be volatile. There will be highs and lows. There will be days where you just absolutely hate looking at your portfolio. All right, 1 trillion. Can it happen? A $1 trillion market cap. Now, Bitcoin has already done this, so we know it's possible for a cryptocurrency to do this. That would come out to $31.19 per coin, which is 23x from where we're currently sitting. Obviously, that is a massive increase. $1,000 would turn into $23,000. $10,000 would turn into $230,000. Now, I believe that this is possible within the next 3 to 5 years. Likely I'm just not sure. We could probably put a 10 to 20% probability that this would happen. It's a very, very bullish outlook to say that this will hit a $1 trillion market cap, but I don't think it's unreasonable to think that there could be 3 to 5 coins with $1 trillion market caps 3 to 5 years from now, and Cardano seems to be one of the top contenders for that space. I'm not here to try and hype you up and try to make you believe some kind of sky-high valuation. We're here to give you all the information that you need to know, make you understand how exactly all this works, and then some realistic scenarios. So I think it's possible, but we can't say it's likely. We just do not know. No one knows, and that's the real truth. A $1 trillion market cap would be about 9% of the market cap of gold. A lot of people use the market cap of gold to kind of have a benchmark to cryptocurrencies. I'm not sure if that's even a good idea, because in my mind, they are so different. They're such a different beast that it just, I don't know if it's a great comparison, but a lot of people use that for comparison. And then one final note here, just be safe with any purchase. I just have to say this, root your portfolio in safe cash flowing investments. This is speculative. You don't want to lose all your money. You want to have a nice little nest egg and then maybe a nice little speculative bucket on the side. I always like to do boring first. I root my investments in boring things that people don't even want me to talk about. And then I do kind of like fun things on the side with a small percentage of my entire portfolio. And here's something to consider. ADA could lose 50% of their value and still be up for the year. What comes up quickly can go down quickly. So just remember, hopping in at any price after this big run up could result in, some short-term bad news, and you have to be prepared for that. And that concludes everything you need to know about Cardano ADA. If you want to use the same cryptocurrency exchange that I use, check out the link in the description for KuCoin. It is an awesome crypto exchange. You'll get some discounted trading fees if you use that link. I would like to thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to this video if you learned anything new. I hope that this was illuminating, and I hope you have a profitable day.